Elizabeth, my read on the president is he's not too optimistic anymore about Putin coming to the table. What's your sense?
I'd say the same. I would definitely say he's less optimistic than he was.
Yeah.
I think you phrased it right before you played the clip. Whose court is the ball in? And unfortunately, it's always in Putin's court because he's the man that is unhinged and can do whatever he wants and is, beholden to no one and answers to no, morals or anything else that we think about here in the United States or anything that we assume the president of the USA has to think about. This is a crazy murderous dictator who does whatever he wants and knows that no one can really stop him. So the ball is unfortunately in his court. I think things are a little different with Donald Trump being in the White House, but I do think this has been quite a situation for him that he didn't expect. I think things were handled horribly for the few years that Joe Biden was in there when this could have been handled a very different way. I am not happy with what I've seen on either side, Ukraine or Russia, Republicans, Democrats. I think the whole thing is a horrible mess. I can't believe how many people have died and that we are 3 years in still having to have this conversation. I'm hoping for the best. I think that meeting was a great first step. I mean, for him to stand there with Vladimir Putin on American soil with, behind them, I think it read pursuing peace. It was a great step in the right direction, but it doesn't really mean much when we're talking about the man that is Vladimir Putin. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping anyone can have a real proper conversation with him and convince him of anything. It's probably Donald Trump, as crazy as that sounds, but I'm not as optimistic as, I was a few years ago hoping this would end or a few months ago, just because we see the direction it's going. And I don't think this man cares in any way, shape, or form about the lives being lost.
I'd love for you to just comment on what Elizabeth said, agree, disagree, annotate.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sort of two schools of thought on this, and I'm only admitting that because I'm on the record of being of both schools of thought. But on one hand, I completely agree with Elizabeth, and I think so about 7 months ago when President Trump became president, talked about the entreaty to Putin and Russia and others around the world who have been sort of annexed outside of diplomacy for many years now. I thought, he's the new president, and maybe he has the right to do that, and let's see what happens. We're at the point now where we've seen what happens, and so the other school of thought is, look, Vladimir Putin, he's been in power in some capacity, and you guys know this. I'm speaking to the preaching to the choir capacity for over 5 decades now. And so he's not going to all of a sudden change his tactics because Donald Trump's the president, a person who's never been in politics before and only sold real estate in New York and elsewhere. That's just not the way this works. And so I hope President Trump now realizes that. And what you saw in China, that was a spectacle between those countries that are saying to Donald Trump and to America, we are not your friends, we are each other's friends, and we're not on your side. And so I think President Trump's got to wake up and he's got to see that. And what we want, as Americans and Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians, whatever, we want our president to not only say that he's America first and be pro-America, to show that he's pro-America. And so I think as much as Donald Trump has said it over the last 7 months, this instance, particularly with Vladimir Putin, think about this. Russia, and Elizabeth talked about what's going on in Ukraine. Ukraine did not ask for a war. Russia decided to invade Ukraine further. We saw what happened with Crimea, and we talked about this ad nauseum. We talked about Crimea with President Obama to ad nauseum. And since then, Putin has gone in and taken more of Ukraine by force and killed more Ukrainians and allowed more of his own people to die than we could have ever imagined. And this is Putin's fault. This is not Ukraine's fault at all. We can't both sides it. And so I hope President Trump finally admits that and figures out a way to help and support Ukraine. I think the problem is, and this is something we've all thought about, you think about, signs of a Cold War, you think about things that are make the world less safe. I do think President Trump's trying to be as cautious as possible. We don't know what Vladimir Putin's going to do. We don't know what he talked about with North Korea and China and India. And so I do think that there's some consideration there. But initially, he's got to just admit that President Putin is a bad actor and he's not a friend of America.
But first, reminder that Cozy Earth is a sponsor of this show. And a reminder, three things. Let's unmute Jim Malmstrom. Jim, unmute. Tell me, Jim, what are the three top things you look for in clothes when you're buying clothes, Jim? Can you unmute? I need a foil. Jim, what are the top three things you look for when you're buying clothes? Number one.
They got to fit.
Good fit. Yeah. Number two.
They got to make me look younger.
Make you look good. Yeah. And number three, you can say cost. You can say cost.
Cost.
Right? You don't want, yeah. Okay. Perfect answers because Cozy Earth clothes. The bedding is great too, but I'm talking, as I almost always do, about the pants, the shirts, They're so comfortable. They look great. You can wear them anywhere, casual. And the pants just they're like a magic cloak. You can wear them anywhere. They look fine on the beach. They look fine at a fancy engagement. And right now they're also on sale. If you use the code two-way, go to cozyearth.com and put in the code two-way, 40% off. Not all of you have taken me up on my recommendation. Go try them. Try the pants. Gentlemen, try the pants. Take my word for it. Built for real life, made to keep up with yours. Cozy Earth recommended.